Well, hey everyone, and welcome to the Legacy Alive podcast. I'm Leonard Keene, and I started the Legacy Alive Foundation for the sole purpose of preserving and stewarding the teachings of my grandfather, Leonard Keene. See, my grandpa was an amazing follower of Jesus and a guy who walked in obedience with God every single day. So much so that in 1973, God woke him up in the middle of the night and told him to close his practice. He had a thriving legal practice. Told him to close his practice, walk away from his family and his friends and the life they built in Oregon, and move to Texas. And in that obedience, he didn't ask any questions. He didn't say, well, God, what am I going to do when I get there? He just did it. So a few hours later, the rest of his family woke up, his wife, his two kids, my grandma, my dad and aunt, and told him, family, we're moving to Texas. And so they did it. They sold everything. They listed their house and they bought a house in Fort Worth, Texas, sight unseen. They never saw it. They just saw a listing in Oregon. When they got to Texas, God led my grandpa to start a ministry called Balanced Life Association. And the main purpose of this ministry was to help people understand that they have to have cohesion between work, play, and worship. And your worship and your faith has to be at the center of everything that you do in order to walk in freedom with God. So as a part of this ministry, he recorded hundreds and hundreds of hours of sermons and seminars and message series. And he recorded them all on reel-to-reel, which many of you may not know what reel-to-reel is, but I have done the work to put them all in digital format. And as I was listening to a lot of his messages, I thought, man, the culture and the world has changed dramatically in the last 50 years. But the biblical truth behind these messages is so relevant. And so as I started listening to them, I thought, man, I have to get this out into the world so that people can hear this. And so that's what Legacy Alive Foundation is. What you'll hear in this podcast is 50-year-old messages. They recorded all of them in the early 1970s. So you'll hear some, the quality of the tape is not that great. The culture is very different, but biblical truth is biblical truth. And so the purpose of this podcast is to show you the lessons that my grandfather taught over 50 years ago. So I went to my grandma's house. I pulled the cassette tapes and the reel-to-reel tapes out of the back of her closet, dusted them off, and that is where Legacy Alive is today. So I'm so excited to show you these messages that were recorded 50 years ago by my grandfather. It's been fun for me because I never got to meet him. He died when he was 41 years old. He only had a few years of doing this ministry. So he died when my dad was 14 years old, and I never got to hear his voice. And so it's been so fun to see the reality of what so many people have told me over the years, that my grandpa was such an amazing man who walked with God daily. So follow the page, like it, do all those things, and together let's keep his legacy alive. Thanks for listening.